They will pass you over for every promotion that you deserve, and it will, and even though the white lady has half the credentials that you have, you will go to work and get so many microaggressions that it feels like your brain has 10,000 paper cuts in it that you literally have to go see a therapist now or turn to the liquor bottle in order to just cope and maintain. And I don't want you to just maintain, right? That's the thing. I talk to a lot of my friends. How you doing, man? Oh man, I'm just maintaining. I'm surviving. I don't want to survive. I don't want to just maintain. I want to thrive, man. I want to win. I want to feel good about life. I want to wake up happy every day. And I don't know if that is necessarily something that we get the privilege of doing on autopilot, right? I don't think that the average African American that goes through the average and standardized process that we're trained to go through. The standard formula for being black in America is not a formula that leads to peace, happiness, prosperity, and security. Give me a yes if you agree. Let me know if you agree with what I'm saying. I don't think that the average black person in America, if they do exactly as they're told, if you go to the public school, if you go to the university and go $200,000 in debt, if you go get that standard job, I don't believe that that leads you to a place where you wake up every day and say, I'm feeling good about life. I'm living the American dream. I don't think the American dream was designed for us. I think the American dream was built on our back. I think the American dream is something that we have provided for other people. I mean, a lot of people live the American dream because they sell products to black people and y'all make people rich. Then, yeah, they're living the American dream. Your landlord's living the American dream because you bought them a house. You paid your rent on time every month for the last 20, 30 years. And I can tell you that if that money's being put in the S&P 500, you literally bought him a house. You gave him over $1 million. Your boss is living the American dream because why wouldn't he? You're giving him 100,000 hours of cheap labor. So others live the American dream, but unfortunately, capitalism, and I've mentioned this many times, capitalism is a horse and jockey system. So the jockey lives the American dream on the back of the horse. Do you understand? Do you follow what I'm saying? The jockey lives the American dream because he's riding the back of the horse. So I want to ask you all this. This is a question you got to ask yourself. Are you the jockey or are you going to be the damn horse? Now, I'm not telling you to be a jockey. I'm not telling you to go hop on somebody's back. I'm not telling you to go out and exploit anybody. But there's some people who show up and they volunteer to be the horse because they can't see themselves as a jockey. They don't want to see themselves as a jockey. You talk to your friend like, hey man, you could be the jockey. You ain't got to be the horse. No, I want to. I want to be the horse. That's what we do. Train our kids. No, you want to be the horse, right? And we train our kids to go. We're like, well, if you goes to school and you're real nice to Mr. Charlie, he'll get you a good job, right? And I'm not making fun. And I know I am making fun. It's sorry, forgive me. I probably made some people mad, but really, I'm not training my kids to go out and be somebody's horse. If you're gonna be a horse, at least be a horse for your damn self. I want them to either be a horse for themselves or to be the jockey. I don't want my kids to be the horse for somebody else, and that's what capitalism does. See what you get, and we've talked about this, and I just want for those who are new, I want you to understand this. Capitalism is a horse and jockey system. The landlord is the jockey, the renter is the horse. The renter pays the mortgage for the landlord. Give me a yes if you follow that, if you understand what I just described to you. Tell me if you get this. If you get this, you paying rent, you get nothing for that rent. You own nothing. All you get is short-term survival. You are in the hustle mentality, so you are surviving. The landlord is thriving because he's taking that rent money as soon as you turn it in. Those of y'all who own real estate know what I'm talking about. You need the tenant to pay the rent so you can go pay the mortgage. The mortgage company is not the mortgage company is not into equity. The mortgage company is not going to say, or in an equality sense, the mortgage company is not going to say, well, since your tenant paid the majority of this rent, we're going to give your tenant a percentage of ownership in the property. They don't do that. They give ownership in the property to the person who paid the mortgage, period. So horse and jockey. Tenant is hustling, getting up, going to work every day so he can get that money, hand it to the landlord. Landlord says, "Thank you very much. I'm living the American dream." And they go down to the bank, pay down the mortgage. Next thing you know, the landlord and his children own $1 million property, and your kids own nothing. Horse and jockey. Horse and jockey. Um, when you talk about employment, The horse is the worker. Workers in America work harder than anybody else. They pay the most in taxes than anybody else. The tax law is written for wealthy people and for investors. That's what it is written for to benefit them. The regular people pay all the taxes, but then also they do all the work. So they work really hard and you get just enough money to survive. A job is just over broke. They busted up all the labor unions to make sure you couldn't get pay raises and stuff like that. That was the strategy, by the way. That was their version. See, remember, to be financially conscious doesn't mean you have to be ethical, right? There are some unethical people who are incredibly financially conscious. Like the people at BlackRock are really financially conscious. They're very much aware of what's happening in the economic world. They're watching the chess pieces move around the board. So don't think that financial consciousness is only for the good. Financial consciousness is a superpower that I hope to endow you with that will allow you to pursue whatever your agenda happens to be in the world. And I'm hoping that it's a good agenda. You've never once heard me come in here and tell you that I think capitalism is a wonderful thing. I've never said that. I've never said, oh, I want everyone in here to be a capitalist. Black capitalism, that's going to save the world. And people who don't understand economics very well, who see me for the first time, they'll say, he's a black capitalist. He's up here telling black people to be capitalists. I'm like, I don't tell nobody to be nothing. That's like me. That's like when people tell me that I'm telling all the black people to go vote for the Republicans or vote for the Democrats and all. I'm like, I don't tell black people what to do. I tell you that I want you to be powerful, and I encourage you to use that superpower for good and not evil. So financial consciousness is a superpower. I'm convinced of it. I feel every day I feel like Superman because I can walk into a room because I understand economics at a pretty high level and I've been studying it intensely. In my doctoral program, I used to study 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, including Christmas. That's how gangster we were with it. You had to be. It was really hard. It was like being a Navy SEAL and an Army Ranger at the same Special Forces times five. So really we were really in tune with this stuff. So I could walk in a room and see all the economics flowing very quickly. So it's really like being Neo in the Matrix. You like, people shoot the bullets, slow motion, like they die, I'm dodging them, right? Like that's how you feel. So this is something I kind of want you to have. This is what I want you to encourage your children to have. I want them to be Neo in the Matrix. I don't want them to be like, remember the Matrix where you had those people who didn't know they were even in the Matrix, but they were fat and happy in the Matrix, even though they were like literally were sitting in some machine and people were sucking the blood out of their bodies or something crazy like that, using them for battery acid. Right? I don't want you to be that. And I don't want you to be the people that are victimized by the Matrix, where you realize there's a Matrix and then but you realize you can't fight the agents because it's too hard and it's scary and bad things are going to happen because they're so much more powerful than you. I want you to be Neo. I want your kids to be Neo. And there are some people who operate in the world, and this is the American dream. This is part of it anyway. There are people that operate in the world who feel like Neo in the Matrix. There are people who walk around and really feel like there is opportunity everywhere, there's money everywhere, there's possibility everywhere. And that comes with a certain degree of financial consciousness. It's hard to take advantage of an opportunity if you're not aware that an opportunity exists. If you're not aware, if you don't have consciousness, if you don't know that there's food around the corner in high abundance, then you might starve to death because nobody ever told you where the food was at. And I agree. A lot of times people aren't gonna tell you where the food is. But then there's some people who don't listen. They don't want to know where the food is because they came in preconditioned and prepared to starve to death. They believe that because they're black, they're supposed to starve. They believe that because they're black, it's supposed to be hard. They believe that because they're black, they're supposed to be in a scarcity mindset. And the scarcity mindset creates something I wanted to talk to you guys about, which refers to what I would call the flaws of the hustle mentality. Right, the hustle mentality. I like the hustle mentality to an extent. I think a hustler, hard in terms of hard work and motivation and everything else, I think that's great. But the hustle mentality also brings an element of a complete desperation that can be in contrast to the mindset required for long-term growth and long-term stability, long-term wealth building. The hustle mentality is more like oh my God, I gotta find a way to pay the bills, so I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do in order to make it happen. And that unfortunately can breed a lot of low vibrational thinking, short-sighted thinking. And I understand it. I get it. I'm not making fun of it. But I think that in order for you to really have what I believe the real DEI, development, entrepreneurship, and investment, you have to ask yourself that long-term question that I ask with the I. The I stands for investment. And I say, well, what are you investing in? What are you investing in? Everybody has to be able to answer that question. What are you investing in? What are you doing every day that's compiling into some sort of long-term accumulation that's going to give you access to the American dream? What are you investing in? And because I can tell you this, if you're answering that question in the affirmative, if you can give me two or three things you're investing in and you're doing it consistently every day, then I'm not worried about you because I know that in 5 or 10 years, you're going to be good. I know that in 5 or 10 years, you will have an accumulation process that will lead to you having abundance in your life. All wealth is an accumulation. That's all it is. Wealth does not come overnight. Wealth does not come with one big record deal. Wealth does not come with winning a lottery ticket. Wealth comes through an accumulation process that leads to abundance. That's how you know the difference between rich people and poor people. They have a lot of stuff. And if you talk to most rich people, they're not, and you say, well, how did you get all that stuff? You got houses, you got cars, you got money in the bank, you have stocks and real estate. How did you get all that? They're not going to be like, well, hey, dog, you know what? I bought, man, I went down and got me a scratch off and I put my whole paycheck into the scratch offs. And I just, next thing you know, I was rich. I'm not going to say that. That's not, yeah. Oh yeah, I went to work at the factory every day, and the factory gave me enough money to buy all this. They no, they didn't. The factories don't do that. They're going to talk about an accumulation process. They're going to say, well, in the last 20 years, I put 12% of my income into my 401k. And after 12 years of compound interest, it grew into $1 million. That's what they're going to say. Or they're going to say, back when I was 25, I started taking real estate classes. And then I made my first business deal. And I bought me a cheap property and I fixed it up. And then I flipped it. And then I got two properties. Then I got three. Then I got five. Then I got 10. And now I got, a bunch of stuff going on. Right? That's what they're going to talk about an accumulation process. Well, I started my business in the first month we weren't making no money. First 6 months we were losing money, but eventually we got our sale and we learned our customer, and now we got units, we got operations all over the globe. That's what they're going to tell you. They're going to talk about an accumulation process, which is nothing more than a set of consistent actions that led to the final outcome. You're seeing the final picture, they're seeing the time series. You're seeing what they call in statistics, they call that a cross section. You're seeing the cross section where everyone is right now, like a snapshot. You're seeing, okay, there's the poor person, the rich person, the poor person, the rich person. What's deeper though in consciousness leads you to see is the time series. The time series is where you see where they when they started poor and they worked their way up. Like for example, when people come to me and they say, Dr. Boy, you out of touch, man. You don't know what you talking about. Cause you don't know what it's like to struggle. You ain't you rich. Of course you gonna say that. And I'm like, but you haven't seen the time series. You didn't see 28-year-old Boyce who had to move out of his apartment in the middle of the night because he could not pay the rent. You didn't see Boyce when he was 23 years old and he was working at Arby's because he needed money to pay the bills. You didn't see that. You didn't see Boyce when he didn't have enough money at 19 to even buy food. And, you didn't see that Boyce. You're seeing the cross section. You're not seeing the time series. So I'm going to challenge you and say, I want to help elevate your consciousness because I need you to see more than what you're seeing right now. I don't need you to just see what was in front of you. I need to see how it was built. You understand? Because if you can see how it was built, then you'll say, "Oh, I get it now. I get it." Boyce was born in the projects. They lived when our first place. Our rent was $100 a month because it was public assistance or housing, whatever the hell you call it. And so through a series of continuous actions in a specific direction, guided by my mother, guided by my father, you have the final outcome. Okay. And so my thing is like, I'm like, look, you wasn't there when I was shooting jumpers in the gym. Now were you? So you need to stop that. Like I'm not gonna let you put that silver spoon label on me. Now maybe with the kids, kids they get all spoiled, little badass kids. They get the silver spoon label because I definitely want to leave them a silver spoon, a couple of golden spoons, and a platinum spoon to go with it. So that's 100% true. So if you're gonna make fun of anybody, make fun of the kids. Don't make fun of me because I had to fight to get here. With that said, consciousness, that's what consciousness is, right? And really, actually, just to continue down the pathway of statistics and understanding statistics, there is what they call the cross section, which is like a snapshot of what you see right in front of you. Then there's the time series. How did you get to where you are right now? And then there's what they call the panel. The panel is a cross section and a time series. So that means you've got all these different people, right? The rich guy, the poor guy, the woman that's doing well, the woman that's struggling, and then you see each person's time series. And then you're able to look at the compare and contrast. You can say, okay, this poor person They're poor because if I go back in time, I will see that they weren't investing in anything. They weren't applying the real DEI. They weren't developing anything. There was no entrepreneurial energy, which will open up economic possibilities, and they weren't investing in anything. And therefore, you have a person right now that's really struggling, that's having a hard time. And in order to do that, they are similar to a basketball team that's had a really bad game and they're losing by 15 points. So at that point, they got to hustle. Yeah, you have to hustle now because you're 15 points behind and there's 3 minutes left on the clock. So you're shooting a lot of 3 pointers. So ultimately, yes, you have to go into the hustle mentality because you've unfortunately ended up in a situation that has led to extreme economic desperation. And I understand that. I get it. But then the question becomes, how do you avoid that? And you go back to what I've talked about before, that preparation is the key to success. So when I applied the real DEI, development, entrepreneurship, and investment, then you're talking about that person that's doing well. The person who's not in a hustle mindset, who's not in a desperate scarcity mindset. Why? Well, because there's so much abundance. They're like the basketball team that's winning by 30 points. They're like my Ohio State Buckeyes who took a 31 to nothing lead in the national championship, or 31 to 7 or something. So they didn't have to be in a hustle mentality. They weren't hustling. They were just trying to maintain the lead that they had accumulated. If you're a college football fan, you had to watch my Buckeyes this year because they were kicking everybody's ass all the whole playoffs. They just devoted everybody. Just shut up, sit down, give me that ball, boy. It was great. I'm telling you, if you're a football fan, you had to love it. Anyway, so here's the thing. In most of those games, they accumulated a lead. They didn't have to hustle and throw Hail Mary passes in order to win games because they'd taken such a lead. And don't you dare bring up the Michigan Wolverine. I saw that comment. I saw that. Though I saw you. I'm gonna put you out of here. Talk about bringing up Michigan. That in case if you don't follow football, it was an embarrassment. It was we had a down moment. Something was I don't know. I think they poisoned the food or something. That's probably what it because Michigan. That's what they be doing. They be cheating. Anyway, so here's what so here's my point. Get focused. All right. So here's the thing. So if you talk about the real DEI, development, entrepreneurship, and investment, what you're talking about are individuals that have developed things over time that have led to prosperity. In many cases, it's the entrepreneurial mindset that becomes that creates what I refer to in my book to be financial fertility. My book is The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And in that book, I talk about financial fertility. You'll never see this in any other textbook that I've ever seen anyway, because I don't think anybody else has ever used this particular concept, but it's perfectly appropriate. Financial fertility means that you've kind of opened up possibilities, right? The entrepreneurial mind can see all the different ways to make money and not just one. The mind that isn't entrepreneurial, that's never been exposed to the idea of entrepreneurship and business creation and development, can only see the paycheck. That's it. And that scarcity mindset, that limited vision, that lack of financial consciousness becomes a literal torture chamber. It becomes a choke point. It becomes a way of controlling you because they say the only way for a black person to succeed is if a white person decides they want to give you a damn job. And I'm sorry if you're white. I know I'm gonna hurt your feelings, but I'll be damned if you gonna be the one blocking me from my dream. I'll be damned if you're gonna be the one blocking me from my prosperity. You ain't blocking me from winning my national championship. That ain't happening. I could go through you, or I could go around you. I could go under you, over you. I'm gonna figure it out because you're not gonna tell me that I've only got one pathway to success. Because what does that do? Well, you've heard me use a word that I love to use, and the word is options. You're limiting my options. And when you limit my options, you're limiting my creativity. You're limiting my possibilities. You're putting me in an impossibly desperate situation. And then I go into that panic mode. I go into that scarcity mentality because you've only presented a few ways for me to be successful. So I'm gonna naturally feel very desperate. We're gonna naturally, as a community, have a crabs in a barrel mentality because we think there's only room for one Negro in the organization. So therefore, that creates a lot of other sociological issues. Like I hate that black person over there because I think they're gonna take my job. And I personally think that we should not have a world where we're all competing for a small number of opportunities. We should not have a world where we got 10 million black boys trying to compete for 80 jobs in the NBA. We should not have a world where the black female manager is mistreating the black female subordinate because she's scared that she's going to take her position in the organization. So if you want to know why I've always been annoyed with a lot of this DEI talk, the old DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is because it creates a bottleneck and a scarcity. Scarcity breeds competition. Scarcity breeds crabs in a barrel. Scarcity breeds the hustle hater mentality. Well, that Negro got my jaw. I hate that. I hate that. I'm gonna kill that. I'm gonna kill that Negro. Who put you in a world where you felt like there was only one or two opportunities? Who did that to you? Who did that to you? Then you've never been through a real DEI program, because DEI, development, entrepreneurship, and investment, means that there's an abundance of opportunity out here for there's enough for everybody to eat. We can all eat good. I don't have to kill you in order for me to get a couple of nickels. We're not fighting over crumbs. We're not fighting for one seat at a table. Oh, we all have built tables. You come sit at my table, I'm gonna come sit at yours. Then we guess what? We got extra seats at the table because we own the damn table. Why? Well, because we did the real DEI. We've developed an entrepreneurial mindset that led to the investment, which creates the infrastructure that allows for us to all have a table. And we're not fighting to get through the door because we all built a door. I know how to build doors. Why am I going to fight to get through his door? There ain't nothing special about the white man's door. It comes with a little more money attached. Sure. It's funny. I go from sounding like this super radical black man to almost sounding like a complete sellout sometimes to people, because I'm like, I actually give white folks credit for what they built. I do. I have not. I'm not a hater like that. No, I look at the NFL and I say, my God, this is extraordinary. This is a league where you could have bought the New York Giants for $500. Now they're worth 5 or 6 billion. You could have bought the Green Bay Packers for like 10,000 bucks. Now they're worth billions of dollars. That's amazing. Well, that was their DEI development. They developed this league. They could have all went and chased jobs. They could have went and worked for somebody, but they said, no, we're going to build this thing. We're going to put our energy into this. And because they put their energy into it, and because they were entrepreneurially minded, because they invested in it consistently, now you have a league that's worth about $190 billion collectively, that just literally prints its own money. I'm not mad at that. I'm not. And I don't think you should be mad at that. I think you should learn from that. If you look at the Jewish community and what they did in terms of building Hollywood, I mean, that book, An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Invented Hollywood, extraordinary book. I was blown away when they showed me that when you looked at some of the biggest studios in Hollywood, most of the top 5 or 6 studios were all built by Eastern European Jews who all lived like in the same area. It was like MGM, Universal, Warner Brothers, like all these big. I was like, this is awesome. We got to learn from this. I don't sit around and those Jewish people. Look at what they doing. They just mean. They just be. No, I don't. There's no benefit to that. Player haterologists do not get ahead in this world. PhD does not stand for player hater degree. I want to learn from it. I look at it and say, how did y'all do that? That's amazing. What was the mindset behind this? And how can we simulate this in the black community? Because I will tell you this, I believe in the specialness of black people. They talk about American exceptionalism. I don't believe in that. I don't think America's exception. I think America's getting its ass kicked. The Chinese kids are getting a far better education than we are. But I do believe in black American exceptionalism. I do. I do. I do. This is where I'm probably going to be called a black supremacist. But when I look at history, I say, I can look at anybody on Earth and say, did your ancestors survive the slave dungeons? Because mine did. Slave dungeons, a lot of people died in the slave dungeon. If you ever go to Ghana and we're going to Ghana this summer, by the way, so keep posted if you want to go with us. You're welcome. If you've ever been in a slave dungeon where they turn the lights out or they shut the door, it's the craziest, scariest experience ever, in the sense of like, oh my God, I can't believe people lived like this for months. But my ancestors survived that slave dungeon. And then you can say, well, did your ancestors also survive the Middle Passage? Because the ones that survived the slave dungeon, those ancestors also survived the Middle Passage. Half the people died, but mine didn't. And then you can say, well, did your ancestors survive 250 years of the most brutal slavery known to man, where they were breeding slaves and they were just tearing families apart, just putting us through absolute hell? Well, my ancestors survived that. Did your ancestors survive 100 years of Jim Crow? Well, mine did. Mine survived that. Did your ancestors make it through the crack era with their brain in their right mind, where they were dumping crack cocaine in black communities? No, but mine did. Did your ancestors survive? Did your people, because they're not ancestors now, did they survive the Holocaust? They also called it the war on drugs, the Biden crime bill. That's what they call it, where every other black man was going to prison for about 20 or 30 years. Well, guess what? I came out of that and I'm shining. I'm dusting my shoulders off. I made it through that storm. I had to play chess to get through that. I had friends that went down, but for whatever reason, God gave me and my ancestors gave me the ability to navigate this horribly incredible, unbelievable space. I wrote a whole book about that actually in terms of that experience. It was called What If George Bush Were a Black Man? If he were a black man, if he had to go through what I've gone through, what a lot of you've gone through, he wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have made it. So in my view, I believe that we are so exceptional, and I think that I don't know if we see it. I believe other people see it. I do believe that they see it. I think that's why they see us as a threat. People don't see you as a threat if they think that you're inferior. And so because we have just so much uh, abundance in terms of ability, if we just simply target the missile in the right direction, we will just literally destroy everything in our path. All we got to do is take those little black boys who are exceptionally good at sports and just turn that missile toward everything else. Turn it toward entrepreneurship. Turn that missile toward science. Turn that missile toward legal training. Turn that missile toward education. Educate our own kids. If we educate our own kids, then their minds won't be corrupted at an early age. If we teach those economics early, it's not hard for me to teach economics to black people. I don't care if you're from the hood. I don't care if you're from the South, the North, old, young, whatever. When I start talking about the money, oh, it's easy. I get people's attention immediately. They're like, "Yeah, we need money. I want money. How do I understand?" And then they get it. They're like, "Oh, okay, wow, this is amazing. I never heard like this. A lot of you went through this. A lot of your relatives have gone through this." So here's the thing. All we got to do is take who we are and just kind of turn the missile in a certain direction. If we make that pivot, we won't be stopped. We will dominate. We will be the envy of the world. Intelligent black people, B1 people, black first people will be the envy of the globe in about 20 or 30 years because I believe we are producing children that are nothing short of economic superheroes. The key idea is that you have to stop them from being distracted by the mediocrity that is thrust on our community on a regular basis. There are people who I believe have an intentional, deliberate effort to keep us stuck on stupid, to keep our self-esteem low, to keep us afraid of our own shadow, to keep us confused and lost. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are still being hit by that. But I'm telling you, I don't think there's anything like a focused black person. I don't think there's anything like a black woman who done been through some things, who's absolutely determined to be successful. That person is going to succeed in any environment. And I don't care who's president. I don't care about all that stuff. The door is wide open. All we got to do is walk through it. Okay. All right. Now, with that said, I don't have much else to say. I told you my goal every day is about 30 minutes. We've done about 35. And because I want us to be able to do this every morning and not feel like it's going to take all day. Of course, you can hang out longer and stuff like that. We have other stuff going on. If you're not on the text list for this class, text the word morning to the number 87948. Just text morning to 87948. Also, let's see what's happening right now. If you want to go to Ghana, by the way, just text the word travel to 87948 and you can get on the travel list. So text travel to 87948. And if you want to get started on your wealth building journey, feel free to go check out blackmoney101.com. That's blackmoney101.com. And next time I'll do some Q&A. Today I want to go ahead and let you get started with your day, and I'll get started with mine. And you will hear from me via text and stuff like that. If I see stuff that I think you can benefit from, I'll send it to you. Feel free to ignore it, but if you want to come on in, we are always here. We are always moving all day long because we are 100% serious about what we do in the Black Business School. And I hope that we've communicated that to you. So God bless you. Have a great day, everybody.